Have you ever sat in the room where everything felt loud, but no one was saying a word? You feel your chest tighten, your thoughts spinning, your hands maybe even shaking just a little, and yet you say nothing. Not because you are weak, but because something inside you knows silence is stronger. Now let's go back to that moment when someone crossed a line with you. Maybe she rolled her eyes when you spoke. Maybe she stopped texting you back for days. Maybe she made a joke that didn't feel like a joke at all. But you laughed it off. You stayed calm. You said to yourself, maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe she didn't mean it. You tried to give more. You tried to be nicer. You thought if you showed how much you cared, she'd finally understand your value. But here's the part that stings the most. She didn't see it. She didn't change. She didn't respect it. And now you feel invisible. That's where most men fall. They try harder when they should walk away. They talk more when they should go quiet. They explain everything, hoping someone will care. But a Stoic man is different. He doesn't scream. He doesn't beg. He doesn't make speeches about how he deserves better. He just leaves quietly, like a shadow disappearing into the night. And here's what makes that powerful. When you don't explain yourself, you force them to look inward, to sit with the silence, to wonder, why did he leave? Did I go too far? Did I lose something rare? Because here's a secret most people don't know. Word. They let her blame you. They let her twist the truth. But when you say nothing, als Ulte san sich command, she has to face what she did. And that silence, that big, empty, cold silence, feels like a mirror. She sees herself. She sees what she did. She sees you walking away and not looking back. That's power. That's a man with boundaries. A man with worth. A man who doesn't explain why he values himself. Because that should already be clear. Here's the biggest truth of all. You don't need to explain your standards. You just need to live by them. So the next time someone treats you like you're just another option, don't send a long text. Don't call to talk it through. Don't wait for her to change. Just disappear. In calm silence. Let her feel the space you leave behind. See him. Let her wonder where that grounded, powerful man went. And let her realize, too late, that you were never going to stay where you weren't seen. The power of disappearing without warning. What happens when you stop calling first and she starts wondering where you went? Not to play games, not to be mean, but because you were busy doing something better. Most guys don't get this. They think if they stop showing up, she'll forget them. But here's the wild part. When you vanish without drama, her mind fills in the silence. Minonimlitik. She checks her phone. She notices the read message you didn't reply to. She thinks back. Wait, he was always there. Now he's just gone? You see, a man who's always around becomes invisible. Too easy, too safe, too boring, staring. But the man who suddenly disappears, without noise, without warning, becomes a mystery. And mystery, it wakes something deep inside her. She might smile in front of others, but inside, a little voice starts to speak. Did I mess up? Was he real? Why do I keep thinking about him? But listen, this isn't about tricks. It's not about being cold. It's about having a life so full. You don't wait by the phone. You don't beg for messages. You don't explain why you're not around. You're not missing. You're just living. Maybe you're at the gym. Maybe you're building something. Maybe you're walking in silence, thinking bigger thoughts. But whatever it isn't about her. And that's what makes it work. When a woman sees that you don't need her attention to feel strong. When she sees you're not chasing, not checking, not explaining yourself. She feels it. She notices you in your absence. Because you're not a boy playing games. You're a man building his world. And if she wants to be part of it, she has to step in the right way. Let her wander. Let her reach. Let her feel the weight of silence, while you feel the peace of purpose. She'll test you with fire. Don't flinch. Have you ever felt like she was trying to poke you? Just to see if you'd react? Like she says something cold, or pulls away, or gives you attitude for no reason at all. And you're thinking, wait, what did I do wrong? Stop right there. Because this is a moment many men fail. They start explaining, they start chasing, they start trying to fix something that wasn't even broken. But the truth is, she was never looking for answers. She was testing your core, not your words, not your charm, not your looks. She was testing your silence. Your power to stay calm when things get stormy. Your strength to stand tall without yelling, crying, or begging. And here's what makes it powerful. When you stop explaining, she starts respecting. A man who doesn't rush to clear his name by other. A man who doesn't panic when she turns cold. A man who looks her in the eyes or even says nothing at all and walks away when needed. That man, he's unforgettable because most guys break. They start asking questions. They try to please. They try to earn back what they never lost in the first place. But the Stoic man doesn't chase approval. He doesn't need her to clap for him or nod her head. He already knows who he is, and if she wants to walk away, he doesn't stop her. He simply steps back and continues on his path. That silence, that stillness, eager, it screams louder than any words. She might not admit it. She might even act more distant. But deep down, she feels it. She respects it. She starts wondering, why isn't he reacting? Does he care? Why do I feel like the one being left behind? Because in that quiet moment, she sees what most men can't fake. You are grounded, You are calm. You are not afraid to lose her. That's the energy she can't ignore. Now here's the real question. What happens when she runs back, but you are not where she left you? She turns around, but you're no longer there. What happens when she finally looks for you and you are not waiting anymore? Not mad, not begging, just gone. Not with noise, but with silence. She expected you to wait. She thought you'd chase. She thought she had time, but instead you vanished quietly, like smoke in the wind. You didn't block her. You didn't explain yourself. You didn't scream, "I'm done." You just moved on. And that, my brother, is where the power lives. See, a Stoic man doesn't throw tantrums. He doesn't make big shows to prove he's walking away. He simply adjusts. He looks down, he sees, he decides, and then he exits. Not because he hates her, not because he wants revenge, but because he respects himself too much to stay where he's not valued. This is the part that shocks her. Because women are used to men explaining, men crying, men texting long messages trying to fix things. But when you walk away without saying why, it makes her feel something she didn't expect. Doubt. She starts thinking, wait, did I lose him? Why didn't he fight for me? Why does this hurt more than I thought? Quiet. You didn't try to convince her. You didn't ask her to see your worth. You let her decide, and you respected her decision. But now, she sees the cost. She thought you were always going to be there. But you're not. You are building your life now, you, your world, your peace era. And here's the lesson. When a man sets boundaries and leaves in silence, he doesn't lose her respect. He earns it. Even if she never says it, even if she never comes back. Jahrelang, she remembers the man who didn't explain and didn't beg. Why she gets confused when you don't explain. Wait, why isn't he upset? Why didn't he say anything? That's the question that burns in her mind when you don't explain yourself. She expects a reason. She waits for a message. She hopes for a long talk. But you give her silence. Not the cold kind. Not the angry kind. And that's where everything changes. See, when a man explains too much, it feels like he's asking for permission. It sounds like, please understand me. Please don't be mad. Please don't leave. But when you don't explain, it means you already understand yourself. You don't need her to agree. You've made a decision, and that's it. This makes her wonder. Did I push too far? Is he serious? Did I lose him forever? She gets confused, not because you were mean, but because you were clear. She didn't expect clarity. She expected drama. But you gave her peace. And that peace, it haunts her more than anger ever could. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't chase her. You didn't throw words trying to fix what she was breaking. Instead, you watched. You stayed calm. And when it didn't feel right, you stepped back. You didn't ask her to value you. You valued yourself. And that silence, that calm boundary, the muse reads then, it speaks louder than words. It says, I don't belong where I'm not respected. I don't need to argue to have peace. I'm already enough with or without you. That's real strength. That's aura. Her interest grows when yours shrinks. Have you ever noticed something strange? The moment you stop chasing, she starts watching. When you stop texting, she starts thinking. She starts thinking. And when you stop caring so much, suddenly she wants your attention again. Why does that happen? Because they chase men who chase purpose. Let that sink in. You were showing up all the time, smiling, giving, trying so hard to be liked, wanted, chosen. But she didn't see the value in that. Not because you're not valuable, but because you made yourself too easy to reach. You were always there. So you felt ordinary. But when your attention started going back to your own life, when you started loving your peace more than her approval, that's when her eyes opened. You stopped explaining. You stopped asking. You stopped proving. And guess what? Pika. Now she wants to prove something. Now she wonders where your energy went. Now she feels that quiet gap. And it feels loud to her. Because the energy that used to chase her now protects your own peace. And that switch, that shift, that calm detachment, it's not about hurting her. It's not a game. It's about finally choosing yourself first. And the moment she feels that, she starts caring just when you stopped. Wow. Silence isn't weak. It's power she can feel. What if I told you silence can speak louder than words? Think about this. You're not yelling. You're not begging. You're not chasing. You just go quiet. And she starts to feel something shift. It's like the room gets colder, not because you're mean, but because you're no longer warm. Without reason. When a man becomes silent, he becomes powerful. Not because he wants to hurt her, but because he no longer wants to hurt himself by explaining things that don't need to be explained. You don't need to explain why you're not okay with being second. You don't need to explain why your time matters. You don't need to explain why your peace matters more than her confusion. You just go quiet, and your silence becomes a mirror that shows her who she's really been. Now she's left to wonder. Why isn't he reacting? Why isn't he fighting for me anymore? Why does it feel different now? Because real men don't make noise for attention. They move in silence, and their silence pulls attention. This is not coldness. It's clarity. It's not revenge. It's respect. for yourself. You're no longer explaining your standards. You're simply living by them. And trust me, the woman who once overlooked you, she'll start remembering everything about you. The way you spoke, the way you stood still, the way your silence used to make her feel safe, until she pushed you too far. And now that silence feels different. It doesn't mean you're gone forever, but it does mean you're not available like before. When you stop explaining, she starts guessing. Ever wonder why mystery makes people curious? When you tell her everything, she listens. But when you stop, she starts guessing. And guessing is where the spark begins. A man who doesn't explain every little move, content 1 and 2, he's not being rude, he's being wise. He's showing that his time and energy are precious. You don't need to send long texts saying why you are busy. You don't need to explain why you didn't respond right away. You don't owe an update just because she's wondering. Let her wonder. When she doesn't know everything, she starts thinking about you. She starts asking herself, did I go too far? Why does he feel so calm? Is he done giving me chances? And guess what? That quiet, steady vibe you have, that's attractive. That's strong. That's rare. Most guys explain themselves too much. They try to fix things fast. They chase peace by talking too much. But a Stoic man, he lets his silence and his actions speak. He doesn't try to prove he's valuable. He doesn't try to convince her to care. He watches to see if she ever truly did. She'll respect the man who keeps his world moving, even when she's unsure about where she fits in it. Let her guess. Because when you stop explaining yourself, file his name, you become the mystery she can't stop thinking about. Guess what? The mystery always wins over the man who over-explains. Aus Mumm, the silence isn't weakness. It's power that roars without noise. What if saying nothing was louder than yelling? Most people think silence is empty, but silence can be full of meaning. Silence and silence can be stronger than words. And when a Stoic man goes silent, it's not because he's afraid. It's because he's focused. You see, loud men talk to feel heard. But strong men, passen auch den Endes kommen. They don't need to talk all the time. They just move, they act, they live. And when something doesn't feel right, they don't argue, they don't beg, they don't explain. They walk away quietly. That's not weakness. That's not giving up. That's control. A woman will notice it too. She may test you, push you, confuse you. She may go hot, then cold, but the moment you stop reacting, she starts noticing. She begins to feel the space you are not filling. She starts to realize he's not chasing, he's choosing. And that changes everything. Because the man who chooses peace over noise, the man who picks his own direction over drama, he becomes the man she can't stop thinking about. Why? Because in a world full of noise, silence feels like power. And when you master that, you don't just attract her, you attract respect, calm, and clarity. Now let's ask something big. Are you strong enough to be quiet when it matters most? Or do we explore that strength on the final stage? They usually stand by various paths. When you stop explaining, you start earning real respect. What happens when a man stops needing to be understood? It shocks people. It confuses them. It even scares them a little, because most men beg to be heard, beg to be liked, beg to be accepted. BS. But not you. Not anymore. But you've learned something rare. You've learned that your peace is more important than her approval. You've learned that you don't owe anyone a speech, especially when your silence already says enough. You walk your path. You live by your rules, lagai, say. And when you set a boundary, you don't write a speech, you don't explain it 10 times. You don't try to make it okay for everyone. You just set it and stand by it. Because a real man doesn't lead with words. He leads with energy, with stillness, with calm eyes and steady moves. And guess what? That's when she respects you most. Not when you chase her. Not when you try to prove your worth. But when you value yourself so deeply, Bankern, you don't need her to understand it. You become the rare kind of man who doesn't need permission to walk away. Or to say no. Or to say nothing at all. And that is power. That is freedom. That is peace.